Perry. He's a Republican candidate for Magistrate District 1. Mr. Perry, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Pleased to be here.
You want to take just a brief moment and introduce yourself to our viewers?
Yes, I am O.L. Leroy Perry. I have a master's degree in elementary education. I taught 27 years here in the McCreary County school system, 23 of those at the middle school, mostly in 7th grade math and 8th grade. I finished up the last 2 years of my teaching career in the 6th grade. I am the oldest of 9 children, and as of the 15th day of this month, I'm now 61 years old. I love living in McCreary County and have no plans of living anywhere else.
Mr. Perry, now, what do you feel is one of the most important issues facing McCreary County, and what are your plans to address it if elected?
One of the most important issues, of course, is our budget. And we'll have to, if elected, I have to work together with the other 3 magistrates and the judge executive to see what we can do there. And another big priority is jobs. I know we're very limited, but we need to try to get as many jobs as we can. Even a few jobs is better than no jobs, because most of our people are having to travel. Some are set, some of them are driving 80 plus miles a day, round trip. By the time their gas and expenses comes out on some of the wages they're getting, they're not left with much.
Okay. Speaking of jobs, do you have any ideas on how to attract more jobs to the community, but also kind of keep the jobs we have?
Well, definitely we need to keep every job that we have right now. And we need to see if we can entice other people to come in. There is a possibility in the community that I live in of a job coming to this county. We probably employ about 6 to 8, possibly 9 people. A friend of mine from Ohio, he has a business in Ohio, ink printing business, and he started up a second business, and he's originally from here and wanting to move back here. He's wanting to start and transfer the ink printing business here that does tattoo, because it's going so well for him. And he plans on doing that hopefully within 2 years. So he would like to start on the building next year, and within 2 years hopefully have it finished and be able to move back to McCreary County.
Okay. And you mentioned working on the budget, and you know that the county's got a very tight budget right now.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on ways to raise revenues and cutting expenses without resorting to raising taxes or relying on grants?
Well, we don't need to raise taxes, that's for sure, because we're taxed to death. We need to see what we can do to raise funds by means. There's people out there willing to help if we will come up with ideas of doing things, just like I was talking about equal community. If you come up with a good idea of helping something, people will buy into it if it will help the county, if they think that it will bring jobs to the county. And the jobs, hopefully, that will stay. And we definitely need to keep what we've got, that's for sure.
Okay. One of the main revenue generators for the county is the occupational tax. What are your thoughts on how the occupational tax monies are spent, where it's being distributed, and also your thoughts on increasing participation and getting more people to pay their share of the occupational tax?
And on the occupational tax, I would have to, if elected, of course, study everything to see just exactly what's what. But I feel like that once the decisions are made as to where it should go, we need to see that those monies get to those places that we're saying that it's going. And we do need, definitely, everyone needs to pay their fair share. And we need to get together with our county attorney to see that we can do something to get those to pay. If I'm paying and I'm a little man, then the businessman out there, he should also pay his fair share. It should be equitable for everybody, not just a few. And we shouldn't make exemptions. It's not a who's who. It's an occupational tax for everybody that works in McCreary County.
Okay. And there's no question that McCreary County is a very beautiful place. And,
Yes.
and a lot of the focus of the past administration, over these past 4 years, has been developing tourism. What are your thoughts on the future of tourism development and its role in the economic future?
We need to try to get as much access to the public lands as we possibly can. And we need a close working relationship with the Forest Service and those in order to do that. We do have a lot of beauty, And it would be great if someday, like in some other places, if we could get some four-wheel trails for these four-wheelers. Because now if they're out on the Forest Service land, a lot of times they get written up things, and we don't want them on the highway because some of them get written up for being on the highway. They don't have on their helmet or blah, 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 this or that. And they want to use those, and they buy them, and I'd rather see them out there than being on the main roads with them, because a lot of our other drivers don't respect them or motorcycles as much as you should, to be honest. And I think we need to try to get a better working relationship to see if we can increase and get more use of the Forest Service land.
In this coming election, the voters in the Stearns precinct will be voting on the option whether or not to allow alcohol by the drink sales there in historic Stearns. But next year, a countywide alcohol referendum could be before the voters. And without putting you on the spot, whether you're pro or con alcohol, if it does, in the eventuality it does pass, it will generate some tax revenues. Where do you see, or where would you like to see that tax money spent?
If, and it may, probably within my lifetime, or maybe yours, probably, possibly pass. If it does, we would need to get more monies into our law enforcement, because along with these monies, there's going to be more people out there. Now, like for instance, where I live, the local bootlegger for some of the people that drink is not very far, mile, 2 miles or less. If the people from where I live drive 16, 18 miles out here, they're usually going to buy more, take home. Well, they've got a 16, 18 mile drive just to get back home. So they're on the road even longer than if they're going to that local bootlegger, and I'm not upholding them either, but it's just a fact. And we would have to increase the law enforcement and then see if any monies are left over. I mean, it would take quite a bit to do that. We would need to try to channel it, hopefully, in helping to get jobs that we were talking about.
Okay. The final question I have for you this afternoon is, of course, we've got a new jailer will be coming into office on January 1st. And the county's had issues with the jail closing and paying for the transport. And all the jailer candidates have talked about wanting to reopen the jail. What are your thoughts as far as, if you're elected magistrate, the role the fiscal court will have to play in possibly reopening the jail?
The possibility of reopening, we would need to see what monies through the form of grants and things that are out there. We'd need to make a thorough study of the jail to see if it is repairable or whether you'd have to start from ground up. I feel like we need a jail in McCreary County instead of having to transport them to Wayne, Whitley, Laurel counties, for instance. That's got our transportation people. They're having to move out of our county. When if something happens, those people very well could be needed right here at home. And but we would need to see if there's any grants out there, things that would help. And of course, the fiscal court would have to step up with monies too. But we've lost part of our identity, I feel like. When we lost our jail, we lost part of our identity. Just like when we lost Bank of McCreary County's name. There's another piece of our history, as I look at it, our identity gone. I mean, it's now gone forever, and it's been here for 100+ years. But I would like to see it reopened, but a thorough study would have to be made to see what monies and everything, and if it is possible.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. I'm going to give you an opportunity right now to talk directly to the voters, and anything that you want to add or we didn't cover, you're more than welcome.
I strongly desire to be the next magistrate of this county in District 1. As a magistrate from District 1, I will not only be serving those people, but decisions that I help make, along with the other 3 magistrates and your judge executive, will affect this entire county. We need to work together, all of the magistrates and the judge executive, as much as possible to make all of these things possible. And please, exercise your right to vote. Every vote counts. Every woman's vote is just as important as any man's vote. Everyone, please get out and exercise your right to vote. It makes you feel good if somebody tells you they're for and stuff, but if after the election, you could lose it by one vote, or you might win it by one vote. But if you lose by one vote, for instance, and you've got 10 or 15 people that said, I thought you were going to get it, and I didn't go vote. Well, had they exercised their right to go and gone and voted, those 10 or 15 people, if you lost by one, then instead of being the loser going home, you would go home a winner. So please, exercise your right to vote on November 4th. And I hope that after the votes are counted, that I will be representing District 1 in McCreary County as the next magistrate from District 1. And I thank you for everyone's support, and I have enjoyed this. It's been an experience. Thank you.
This was O.L. Leroy Perry, Magistrate Candidate District 1 as Republican. Mr. Perry, thank you for being here this afternoon.
Very welcome. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome, and I'd like to remind everybody to go out and vote on November 4th. Roger Phillips, Magistrate for District 2, running on the Republican ticket. Roger, thank you for being here this afternoon.
Appreciate it.
Do you want to take a moment and just introduce yourself to the viewers?
Yes, I'm currently serving in my third term as Magistrate District 2. I appreciate the opportunity anytime to be able to answer questions for anybody. Appreciate you inviting me over.
No problem. Well, let's get right into it. First and foremost is, what do you think is one of the biggest issues facing McCreary County right now, and how do you think we need to proceed moving forward?
I think the biggest issue facing McCreary County right now is the jail situation. I'm looking forward to working with the new jailer to try to get this thing back open, because it's robbing from all of our everything in the county.
Okay. As far as jobs, and of course the jail would bring jobs, but what can be done to bring more jobs into the county, but also retain the ones that we have already?
Well, we are working with a company right now. It sounds almost too good to be true, but I look forward in the future to maybe a big announcement. But we have infrastructure in place right now with our Pine Knot facility. And before I took office, we didn't have such availability. And back then, we wasn't even in the ballpark unless we had something like that. So we missed out on some opportunities early. We're just going from there.
Okay. On to the occupational tax. Now, you've been an opponent of the occupational tax for a while, and of course you weren't happy when they changed over to putting everything into the general fund.
Right.
What are your thoughts going forward with it as far as collections and also how the money is being spent?
Well, like you said, I'm not in favor of it going in the general fund. I think it needs to go back the way it was. And I understand the reason they done it was the jail situation, because the jail is mandatory and you've got to do that before you do anything else. But it's robbing from our park. I mean, we've not been able to do anything within about the last year for growth there. It's robbing from each department, and we've got to sit down and work with the new jailer and get this thing back open so we can use that money, because if it's going in jail, it's not helping nobody but these other counties right now is the way it's going.
And how about the collection? Of course, you've talked about getting our county attorney to send letters and get better participation in.
Yeah, I think that the judge said we was about 80,000 behind this year as far as collection. I think we need to ramp that up. We've done in the past, to not collect on the taxes that go against you if you don't pay them. I think that we're going to have to ramp that up. I think the county attorney's going to have to be more aggressive on this, and I hope we can get this resolved, because with the prison and these other federal entities, they always said if they could get it cut out of their check that it would be easier for them, and now they can, but it's got to be a volunteer situation. So there's no excuse now. And they're not just the only one that's failing on it, but I think that our tax person needs to be more, get after them a little more and get the county attorney involved.
One of the major focuses of the administration the past 4 years has been tourism. What are your thoughts on tourism moving forward, and where do you see it progressing?
Like I said, we have made some giant steps in tourism, but as far as tourism being the magic, potion for the county, I don't foresee it being the only thing. It's got a part, but I think there's other things that we need to focus on, and not just tourism. I mean, we need to be out here actively recruiting people to come here, and because with our economic director, I think that she needs to, he was talking in the last question about, retaining jobs. We just lost a factory, just about 3 weeks ago. I think that she needs to be doing like a job fair once a month. When these people become out of a job, she needs, there's jobs around, we may have to travel, and I'm one of those that does have to travel, but there's jobs within the region. But I think that she needs to do it like a job fair to where people can, she can help them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, that would be part of her job.
Okay. Now, this November, the voters in the Stearns precinct will be voting on whether or not to allow alcohol sales in just the Stearns district, and a countywide vote could happen next year. Now, I'm not putting you on the spot as far as whether you are pro or against it, But in the eventuality that if it does pass, that the alcohol sales pass, what do you think the revenues generated from it should be spent on?
Well, I think that there's a law that where it has to be spent. I think it has to be spent on the negative effect that it brings. You know, a lot of the money would have to go toward law enforcement, and you know, if we do spend more money on law enforcement, you know, that may ease up where we're already taking money from general fund to pay 3 additional deputies. You know, that may ease that up to where we could use that somewhere else. But you know, that's up to the voters. You know, this Stearns, I don't know. You know, I don't know who's going to be able to sell it and who's not. So I don't know as far as revenue what it's going to bring.
The final question I have before we wrap up, and you talked about it briefly, we will have a new jailer come January 1st. All 3 of our jailer candidates have talked to some degree about the possibility of getting the jail reopened. What role do you see the fiscal court moving forward as far as working with the jailer and the possibility of opening a new jail?
I think that we need to work with the jailer. I mean, we need to talk with, and we've already been in talks with DLC, and I think they're willing to work with us. They just need a jailer that's willing to work. And I think it's a real good probability that we can get it opened up. You know, probably not have state inmates, but you know, if we don't have state inmates, you know, and you're spending the same money housing your local people, you know, that's 17, 18 jobs that you're providing that you're losing right now. So I could see that a gain from it.
Okay. And now we're going to take a moment for you to talk directly to the voters, and you can tell them whatever you want, anything we've not covered.
Cindy, thank you for inviting me over for your questions. And I'd like to take this moment to thank the voters for your confidence over the last several years. And I'll just be the same magistrate that I've always been, you know, someone that you can trust, someone you can count on, call, answer your calls in a timely manner. Thank you, and appreciate your vote November the 4th.
Republican Magistrate in District 2, Roger Phillips. Roger, thank you for being here this afternoon.
Appreciate it.
And I'd like to thank you for watching, and everybody remember to vote on November 4th. Hello again, everybody. I'm here with magisterial candidate for District 2, Democrat Jonathan Coffey. Jonathan, thank you for being here this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want to take a moment and just tell the viewers who you are tonight?
Sure. My name's Jonathan Coffey. I live on Rattlesnake Ridge, and I've lived there for most of my life. My parents are Don and Sue Coffey, who also live on Rattlesnake Ridge. And I'm running for magistrate in District 2 because I think that the people of District 2, specifically those who live on that side of the Yamacraw Bridge, need a representative who will look after their issues and who will have concerns of those people who will best represent those people.
Okay. And Jonathan, we get right into the questions here. And what do you think is one of the most important issues facing the county?
I think that the lack of a jail is a major issue facing the county. First of all, I think it limits the amount of protection that some people feel in the county, because if we don't have somewhere where we can put criminals, people who are breaking the law, people may not feel safe in their homes, and I think safety is an important issue for everyone. But more importantly, I think that when outside businesses and other individuals look upon our county and they see that we don't have a jail, that makes them less willing to come to our county, to bring jobs to our county, to bring other opportunities to our county that if we had that jail, we might be able to get.
Mm-hmm. And that leads right into my next question, jobs. What do you think the role of, if you're elected as magistrate in the fiscal court, their job is to attract jobs to the county, but also to retain the jobs we have?
Right. I think that we have to be willing, first of all, to look to see if we can offer any tax incentives to businesses that are coming in. I've not been a member of the fiscal court yet, so I don't know that that is a possibility. The other thing is I think that we need to improve our infrastructure here in the county. And the first thing there is getting that jail back up and going. One of the jobs of the magistrates are to keep our roads looking good so that they're passable. And I think that that's something that we all have to look at. That's another idea that we have to look at for infrastructure. In terms of the fiscal court getting jobs here, I think that it's something that the fiscal court and those people who are serving there can do. But I think it's something that we as a county have to work on. We have to make our county presentable to outside organizations that want to come in, to these businesses that we might be wanting to attract into our county. And I think that we have to do that through a number of ways. And I think the fiscal court is one of one of the main bodies that can do that.
Okay, and McCreary County is obviously operating on a very limited budget these
Right.
days. What are your thoughts as far as ways of increasing revenue, cutting spending without resorting to tax increases, or even if so much is done, let's apply for a grant?
Right. Well, first of all, I think I work for the McCreary County Board of Education and with Save the Children, and so I'm very familiar with grants. Grants are great, but the bad thing about them is they're not always there. And so for us to depend on those types of things would be not a great thing at all, because you never know when they're going to go away. In terms of raising more revenue, I don't think that we need to raise taxes, first of all, because the people in this county are poor, they are struggling, and if we increase their tax burden, it's just going to make it really tough for them. In terms of ways to actually raise revenue, I think that we have great things going in this county with tourism, bringing visitors in. I think that that's one thing that we can continue to work on, continue to improve in our county. But also I think going back to this idea of getting the jail up and running. In terms of decreasing spending, I think that we have to carefully evaluate the way that our county is spending money, especially in regards to emergency services and how those funds are appropriated. And I also think that we need to take a really close look to see how we're using the money that's gathered from the occupational tax. A lot of people complain about that tax. I personally think it's a good thing. I didn't when it was first passed. But I think that one of the things that make people really hesitant about it is that they may not understand how those monies are being used. And I think that it would be a good thing for the fiscal court not only to examine that, to make it transparent to the people of McCreary County where those funds are going.
And you're leading again right into my next question about the occupational tax. First, do you think it's being fairly collected, or being collected enough? We've had stories of some people refusing to pay the tax. And you mentioned being transparent with how you're spending it. Do you have thoughts of where you'd like to see those monies go?
I think one of the things that we really have to work on is improving our ambulance service, improving our 911 dispatch. We have a very broad county in terms of size and in terms of the range that our one ambulance service is having to focus on. And I think that that's one thing that we definitely need to look at. In terms of the funds itself, I think that they could definitely be more transparent. I have no idea how they're spent. I have been paying them for years and years and years, and I would love to know where that money's going. I know that we see the breakdowns that come out in the newspaper that show where those funds are going, but how are those funds being used by those organizations? I think that's just the perfect type of thing that people in this county could benefit from knowing. There was another part to that.
The collection.
The collection. I think that if one person's going to have to pay it, everybody should have to pay it. If there are people who are not paying it, I think that we need to examine that and we need to get them to start paying it. Either that or we need to repeal the entire tax so that everyone in the county is treated fairly.
Okay. A lot of the focus over the past 4 years of the current administration has been tourism.
Right.
You touched briefly on that. What are your thoughts on the future of tourism in McCreary County and its overall impact on McCreary County?
In terms of impact, I think it's great. I think it can bring more jobs, more businesses, more revenues to our county. In terms of what the current administration has done with tourism, I do think one really shining point is the fact that when you're driving up Interstate 75 now, you see that Stearns Historic Site has its own marker there on the interstate, and I think that that really could draw more people in. I think that we need to focus on more ways to do things like that, to get our county recognized for the good things that we're doing, for our tourist attractions, for our scenic views, things like that, things that McCreary County can be recognized for in a positive light rather than a negative light.
And Historic Stearns, the voters here November 4th, they're going to be voting to whether or not to allow alcohol by the drink sales there in the historic district. Mm-hmm. Next year, the next general election, next November, the county could be voting on it as a whole. And without asking your position on alcohol, but in the eventuality that it passes, where do you think any of that tax revenue should be spent?
I think that we need to focus on our emergency services, making sure that those are operating at full capacity, that those dollars are being spent wisely. Since I work for the school board, any money that the school board can get to improve our education in this county is well spent and well needed, I will say. But also I think using some of that money to increase that focus on tourism, to increase ways of getting jobs into this county. But again, I think that it needs to be really clear how that money is going to be spent. And I think that one thing that could benefit the county is if that is passed and we do have those extra taxes, that should be made transparent, very clear up front, rather than waiting years and years down the line.
Okay. The final question I have for you today is concerning the jail. You briefly touched on your belief that it should be reopened, and we will have a new jail
Right.
come January 1st. And all three of the candidates have talked about the possibility of and wanting to reopen the jail. If elected as magistrate, what do you think your role in the fiscal court will be in assisting the jailer get that accomplished?
I think we have to look to see how our jail meets state guidelines to make sure that we can reopen it. Also to make it safe, and what I mean by safe is to limit the amount of prisoner breaks from the jail, doing things to make sure that it is a fully functioning and operating jail, that it's working properly the way it should be, but also making sure that we're funding the jail properly and to make sure that those funds are doing what they need to be doing. I do think that the jail is a really important piece of the puzzle to get us back on track here in McCreary County. So I think that as a fiscal court, it would be very important to take that up maybe as the first issue that comes before the new fiscal court.
Well, I want to thank you for your answers today, and right now I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak directly to our viewers and tell them anything you want, anything that you feel we didn't cover, and here's your opportunity.
Okay. McCreary County to go out and vote on Election Day. Election Day is your one chance to affect change in the government. It's your one chance to have a say in how the government's run, whether it be on a national, state, or local level. Here on the local level, I'm running for magistrate in District 2. I think that we need a representative who is going to represent the best interest of everyone in District 2. As a nearly lifelong citizen of Rattlesnake Ridge, a portion of the county that's on our west end, I think it's important that we have someone who will represent the interests of the citizens on that end of the county, not just those citizens who live in Whitley City and Stearns and Smithtown and the other areas that are covered in District 2. In terms of issues that are important in this election, I think we have to look at the jail, whether or not we can reopen it, how that will impact our county, how to best use monies collected from our occupational taxes, hopefully not raising any of those taxes because McCreary Countyans are struggling, but also using those monies that we do have wisely to improve our county's education, to improve our county's emergency services, and to improve the overall livelihood of our county. So come Election Day, I hope that you will go out and vote, and I would ask that you vote for me, Jonathan Coffey, for Magistrate in District 2.
Again, everybody, I'd like to thank you for watching, and again, this is Magistrate Candidate for District 2, Jonathan Coffey. Jonathan, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. Remember, everybody, exercise your right to vote on November 4th, and thank you for watching. Everybody, welcome. I'm here with Magistrate for District 3, Jason Mann. Thank you for coming, Jason.
Thank you for inviting me.
Want to take a moment and just introduce yourself to the viewers?
I'm Jason Mann. I'm currently the magistrate in the 3rd District, which covers Stearns, Revelo, and West Pinot and Strunk. And I'm married to Kim Keith of Stearns, and we have 2 daughters. I graduated in 1995 from McCreary Central, and I've pretty much lived in McCreary County all my life, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud to be here.
And thank you for being here, Jason, and we'll get right into the questions. Jason, what do you feel are one of the most important issues facing McCreary County today, and what are you looking to do for it?
Well, there are many issues facing McCreary County right now. Our tax base, we don't have a whole lot of money coming in. We don't have a big surplus like other counties. And jobs is a big issue. I wish we had more jobs for everyone here. There is potential on the horizon. There's things looking good, and let's see. There's just many issues. The jail issue is a big issue concerning a lot of people right now. That's a mess. Hopefully, the next administration or something, we can come up in the coming year, we can get things done and move forward with that.
Okay. And of course, you mentioned jobs and things that are working going forward. What else can the county be doing to attract more jobs, but also, keeping jobs that we already have, keeping them here in the community?
You need to work with them if they need something. The whole fiscal court needs to be involved with that. Some stuff goes on. There's just certain few that know about it. I think a lot of us need to be involved in everything. We just need to all work together.
Of course, Jason, you've been magistrate for the past 4 years, and you've seen our budget get tighter and tighter. What are some ideas you think for increasing revenues, decreasing spending, without resorting to raising taxes?
Well, I'm not for raising taxes. That's be my last option. And to increase revenue, I mean, you just have to get. McCreary County is a beautiful place, and you just have to get people to invest in it. When different opportunities, I mean, you get people to invest that can employ a whole lot of people. That's more tax revenue. That's more income tax. They're going to spend money here. You just got to be creative in every aspect. Tourism, you got to look at tourism. Tourism can bring in a lot of money, and a lot of people don't look at tourism as an industry, but it needs to be. We got to get behind our director and work with her. We got to get behind Susan, our economic director, give her what she needs, and just work with them.
Okay. And you mentioned Susan Stevens, the Economic Development and Community Director. One thing that she's been working on is the occupational tax. And Stephanie Tucker, our OC Tax Administrator, have said that we're having some issues with getting everybody to participate and pay.
Yeah.
And also, 2 years ago, Judge Stevens, all the money's now going into the general fund.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on the occupational tax and the collection, and also how we spend the money?
Okay. Well, it's no secret. There's certain few that ain't paying their tax. And what I would be willing to do with those people that are behind on paying their taxes, if the other fiscal court would be willing to do this, is give them amnesty. Because they probably owe so much right now they couldn't pay and they're not going to pay. Let's just start with a clean slate and go from there. And but from now on they have to pay. And back to the occupational tax where it goes into, it was recommended by Frankfurt that we all put it in the general fund, because it was getting tight paying bills. We had like a whole lot of money in a certain fund, but we couldn't use it for another when we needed it. But EMS is doing fine now, it's paying for itself. There's one entity that I would like the occupational tax. So much money set aside for it to a cap, and when it's capped, if they ain't spending it, no more can go into it, and that's the park fund. I think the park could more money could go toward the park fund to have it, because you have requests for the lights and the basketball fields and courts and even a pool. And if you had a certain amount of money each month or each pay period, whenever it goes in there, going directly toward the park fund, you could make it better.
Okay.
And the rest of them are, the other funds are where the money was going to is paying for itself now. We've got good directors and they're really doing well with that.
Okay.
It's just I would like to see a certain amount going into the park fund.
That's great. And of course, kind of dovetailing with the park is, and you touched on it earlier, is the focus on tourism over the past 4 years. Where do you see tourism going forward over the next few years, and how big of a part of McCreary County's economy?
Tourism, it could be a major part. This trail town could be huge. It's just you got to get people invested. And Terry Jo Chaney, she's doing an excellent job. We couldn't ask for no one better in what she's doing right now. She's working hard. Her work ethic is second to none, and she's going to do great things.
Okay. Now, on November 4th, the voters in the Stearns precinct are going to be voting as far as whether or not they're going to allow alcohol by the drink sales. And next year, a countywide referendum could come. And not to put you on the spot what your position is on alcohol, but in the eventuality that if that does pass and the tax money starts coming in, where do you see the county spending that revenue?
Well, to my understanding, just Stearns only.
Mm-hmm.
where Stearns is historical district, I don't believe we would be getting any money from that. It would all go to the historical district, right?
Probably, but of course, next year, if it passes countywide. it's a
Countywide,
different story.
well, the majority of it would go to law enforcement, which is, needed.
Mhm.
And just have to support law enforcement, maybe we could get them another deputy, now hopefully 2 deputies, but the majority of it would go toward law enforcement.
Okay, the final question I have for you is concerning the jail. January 1st, we're gonna have a new jailer. And I know you've been dealing with the issues the county's had. Going forward with the new jailer in place, and all 3 of the candidates have talked about the possibility of reopening the jail. What is your views and what do you think the fiscal court can do to help a new jailer and possibly open a new facility?
I hope and pray the jail can be open again, a new facility or redo what we have. This transport, it's a mess. The constables don't like it when they arrest somebody because of the wait time sometimes, and the sheriff's department, they deal with the same issues too. And it would make everything a whole lot better if we had a jail. I know it's gonna take time, and it's no overnight process. And I hated that the jail closed, but I was told that if we didn't shut the jail down, the state was going to do it. And that's the truth. Nobody wanted to see the jail closed. It's been a mess ever since. I wish we could have done things differently. I wish there was things to do differently. But what we was told, that we had to.
All right, and we're going to take a moment here and let you talk directly to the viewers and let them know anything that you want to say, anything that we didn't cover.
My name is Jason Mann, currently your magistrate in the 3rd District. It has truly been my honor serving you this past 4 years, my first term, and I would truly love to serve you again. It's all about representing you, the district, and I think those of you who have called me during my term know that I've answered you in a timely manner, and I think I've gained a lot of trust. And to be a public servant, you've got to have the public's trust, and I think you can trust me. I'm not perfect, but I promise I'll do what I can to help you, and I'll make an effort to try. And please remember me when you vote, and all your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
This is Jason Mann, Magistrate for District 3, running on the Republican ticket. Jason, thank you for being here this afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and best of luck on November 4th, and I'd like to remind our viewers to go out and vote. Thank you. Everybody, I'm here with David Murphy, our candidate for District 3 Magistrate, is running as a Democrat. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Do you want to introduce yourself to the viewers?
My name's David Murphy, and I live at 566 Murphy Subdivision Road. I owned Murphy's Furniture for many years and retired about 2 years ago, and I'm running for the office of magistrate.
And David, we'll get right into the questions here. What do you think is one of the most important issues facing the county today, and what is your thoughts on addressing it?
Well, I've been in business all my life and everything, and I know that the county, the jobs have really left, and I know I don't know really what we can do about it, but I'm willing to work with anybody that that help build the county back up.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you mentioned jobs as an issue, and we need to attract more jobs to the county, but also retain the jobs that we have.
Right.
Keep it as. Do you have any thoughts on possible ways that we could work on even just retaining the existing jobs?
Well, really, just people need, I think, to trade in the county all they can, and that helps everybody in the county. Business is not like it used to be, and I feel like that if people would, stay at home and trade with the people at home, that'd help things.
And of course, as a businessman, you know how to deal with a budget, and you know that when your income is less than your expenses, you have an issue. And of course, McCreary County is facing a very tight budget. Do you have any thoughts as how McCreary County, the fiscal court, could possibly increase the revenues without resorting to raising taxes?
I'm a person that watches what I do, and I feel like that they need to watch how they spend money. If the county has something that they're going to do or something like that, I'm somebody that if it's worth the money that's going to be spent, you know, I'd vote for something like that. But if it's not, and it's going to cost the county a lot of money, that's not worth what it's going to be panned out to be, then I'd vote no against it.
One of the main revenue generators for McCreary County, of course, is the occupational tax.
Right.
And there's been a lot of discussions over the past couple of years on participation, not everybody participating, and also how the money is spent. What are your thoughts on increasing participation with the occupational tax, and how do you feel about where the monies are being distributed?
Well, I'm not for raising occupational tax. I feel like a lot of people in this county are really strapped, you know, to make what they make, you know, make a living and stuff, and I feel like that would put the county in a bind more, the people in the county. You know, I know the occupational tax is here, and I'm sure it does a lot of good things, and I'm not against the occupational tax that's in it at the moment, and you know, that's the way I feel about it.
What about the participation rate? Of course, we've had stories in the past months of some federal employees not participating, not paying their fair share. Do you think that it should be the fiscal court's mission to go out and make sure that everybody pays their fair share of the tax?
Well, I've been to the last couple of fiscal court meetings, and I know 2 meetings ago, Stephanie got up and talked about most people are federally employed. They, you know, they don't pay it, and you know, I don't know what the fiscal court could do. I know she was talking about taking it to a lawyer and going through and trying to collect it.
Okay. One of the focuses of this past administration over the past 4 years has been developing our tourism base in McCreary County. What are your thoughts as far as tourism in the county and its future?
Well, I like to see tourism. I mean, you know, I'm for the county getting what they can get, you know, doing what they can do, and you know, the Big South Fork, you know, I wish there was more access to the Big South Fork, because honestly, there's just so many places that you can really go into the Big South Fork, and a lot of the roads are blocked and different things, and I believe, you know, in tourism, but also I believe in the county, the people that want to use Big South Fork, and a lot of times it seems like that. I know over the years that they've been roads that's been closed down in the last few years, you know, that was open for a while, and you know, but you know, I'm for the Big South Fork, you know, I really am, and I'm for tourism. May not be a good answer, but that's the way I feel, you know.
Fine. Now, coming up in November, in addition to the election, the voters in the Stearns precinct will be voting whether or not to allow alcohol by the drink sales there in historic downtown Stearns, and a countywide referendum may come by next year. Now, without asking your position on alcohol sales, not putting you on the spot, but if in the eventuality that those measures were to pass, and of course the county would be generating tax revenue from that, where do you foresee that money being spent?
Well, from what I've heard, you know, it'd probably be spent on deputies and law enforcement and stuff like that. That's really about all I've heard on the situation on that.
Okay. My final question I have before we wrap up is, we're going to have a new jailer come January 1st. We've got 3 candidates running right now. In the past 2 years, the jail is closed. The fiscal court has taken on the onus of running the transport system. But all 3 jailer candidates have talked about the possibility of reopening the jail. What are your thoughts as far as, if you're elected, what role the fiscal court will have towards assisting the jailer and possibly opening of the jail?
I would like to see the jail reopened. From what I hear, it's cost the county a lot of money to transport all these prisoners in different places and stuff. And it looks like to me the county would use that money to get the jail, if it's possible, to get the jail reinstated.
Okay, and that's all the questions I have, so I'm going to give you a moment here to speak directly to the viewers and say anything that you'd like to say that we may not have covered.
My name is David Murphy, and I'm the son of Glenn and Flonnie Murphy. I've lived in McCreary County all my life, and I own Murphy's Furniture and Appliances. It's the only job I ever had. I worked there for 30-something years. I'm somebody that I'm a people person, and you know, everybody I've ever seen, you know, I seem like I do everything I can for them. I've dealt with businesses and companies all my life, and I feel like I have good common sense when it comes to figuring out, issues, anything that, if I'm elected and in fiscal court, anything that issue comes up, if I feel like that it's worth the money that's being spent on it, that I'll vote for it. If it's something that I don't think that would be a waste, and I won't vote for it. And I appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank you for watching. I'm here with magisterial candidate for District 3, David Murray. Thank you for being here this
Thank
afternoon.
you.
And thank you for watching, and remember, everybody, vote on November 4th. Hello again, everybody. I'm here with Duston Baird, Magistrate candidate in District 4. Dustin's a Republican. Dustin, thank you for being here today. Do you want to take a moment and introduce yourself to the viewers?
I'm Dustin Baird. I'm running for Magistrate in District 4. My parents are Larry and Pansy Baird. My wife is Heather Baird. We have 5 children. I live on Marsh Creek, and I work at the McCreary County School System.
All right, Dustin, this election coming up, what do you feel is one of the most important issues facing the county today?
There are a lot of issues facing the county today. The jail would be a really important issue, I feel. There is no jail at the current time. We really need a jail, but there's really no way to get a jail. There's no finances to get a jail. No finances available to get a jail. Could we find the finances? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that question. But I do. The only thing I do know is that the jail budget ran over $200,000 last year over what it was supposed to run. So I feel like the jail budget is draining the county. I feel like that's one thing that's draining the county, and it seems to be taking away from other things such as the parks budget and just other things in the county, that require money to run successfully.
And what do you think can be done to bring more jobs into the county and also keep the jobs that we have?
I think we need to go out and search for these companies. We need to go out and say, hey, you can come down and you can have a tax break if you would come here. You can, like we have the building in Pine Knot right now that's empty. It's completely empty. And why is it empty? I really don't know. I don't know I don't understand the underlying things with that building. But I do know that I think that we should go out and search these companies out and say, hey, if you come to McCreary County, we'll give you tax breaks if you will hire, say, 80% of your employees from McCreary County. I understand if they can't hire all of their employees from McCreary County. I understand that, but if they would at least hire 80% of their employees from McCreary County and pay $15 an hour, that would be great.
Of course, McCreary County is facing an economic downturn, decreasing revenues, a shrinking tax base, and it's making our budget tight. How do you think the county can generate more revenue without increasing taxes or relying on the magic grant funding that really only is a one-time thing?
Right. Yeah. I don't know really how we could generate more revenue. Is there anything that we could cut back on? I think really we could go in and maybe look at stuff that we could maybe cut back on, and there may be some stuff that we could do to generate more revenue. I really don't know. I'm not on the inside of it, so I really don't know about that. But I do know that there are things that you could I do know that you could cut back on. I know at the last fiscal court meetings, Roger said he would be for moving the 911 center if they would not borrow money. And I agreed with that. I probably would not have borrowed money to move the 911 center, but Mark Sewell found the money that he found. I think it was $102,000, and when he found that, then that obviously hopefully gave the fiscal court. I don't know if it did or not, but it appeared as if it gave the fiscal court enough money to go ahead and move the 911 center. You know, so maybe little things like that, you know, if you could just move around little things like that, and then maybe you could generate a little revenue.
Listen, McCreary County has a 1% occupational tax, and that's been going for several years, but in the past 2 years, the money's going directly into the general fund. First question is do you feel how the money is being spent is wise and fair? And second, do you feel that, you know, how can we increase collection? We've had several federal employees that have refused to pay that.
Right, yeah. Well, I think it's good that the county is now choosing to go after the federal employees. You know, because they said they had actually gone after or sent letters to several federal employees, and they had received about $30,000 from those federal employees, but there's like, I don't know, what'd she say, like $90,000 outstanding money. And that was just over the past, I don't know, like 1 year. But then, you know, with the occupational tax just going straight to the general fund, you say, is that fair? I really don't know if that's fair or not, because before, you know, the citizens knew exactly where it went to, and they could see exactly what it went for, and now you really don't know what it's going for, you know, so I really can't say for sure that that's fair, because you really don't know what it's going for. You know, it's just going in the general fund, and then they can do whatever they want to with it. But now to say that, you know, that it should be moved out like it was before, I don't know, because see, the county needed it in the general fund at the time they moved it there. You know, they needed the general fund to pay bills, you know. But I would definitely look at moving it back out at some time or another, you know, because, I mean, you just can't leave it going directly into the general fund from now on.
Over the past 4 years, our current administration, a lot of the main focus has been developing tourism. What are your thoughts regarding the future tourism of McCreary County and its overall economic impact?
Well, they talk a lot about mountain biking in McCreary County. I know they spoke a lot about that at the last fiscal court meeting, and they said that there was about, 150 miles of mountain bike trails in McCreary County. But, and you know, I think that there should be maybe a park or a trail, something, which I think they were working on that, built around the reservoir. You know, I think that would look really good. And I think it would look really good if there were parks built in each district. You know, I think that would look really good. Now, would that build up tourism? I don't know if that would build up tourism or not, but, you know, maybe you could build up something down at Big South Fork to bring in tourists from other places to ride the train and all this. You know, maybe you could bring in another train to carry more tourists.
Okay. This November, voters in the Stearns precinct will be voting on whether or not to allow alcohol sales by the drink. And of course, a county-wide referendum could come next year.
Right.
And without putting you on the spot, asking you you're pro or con alcohol, but in the eventuality that if it were to pass in McCreary County, how do you think that revenue generated from alcohol sales should be used?
Well, if the alcohol does pass, you know, I would really, the money would need to go toward for the sheriff's department, you know, obviously, for the ambulance service, for starters, you know, for the 911, to maintain those things for starters. And then if you had any left over, then you could put it toward other things such as tourism and that.
Okay. And the final question I'll have for you today is, of course, the jail, and you touched on the jail earlier. What role do you feel the fiscal court will have? You'll have a new jailer come January 1st. What role will the fiscal court have in shaping the future of the jail or the reopening or just the continuation of transport?
I think the fiscal court should have a major role, you know, because we should see that and see to it that the jail either, you know, we should help the jailer see to it that either the jail is or is not reopened, you know, and we should go to people at the state level and say, hey, we can reopen a jail, we have the prisoners reopen a jail. You know, I was speaking with Doug the other day, and I'm pretty sure, don't put me on the spot, but I think Doug said we had to have so many prisoners per night. you know, in order, before the state would even look at funding a new jail, you know. So, you know, and I don't know if we have that many prisoners or not, you know. So we have to find out those numbers first before we ever even look at opening a new jail, you know. But I think that the magistrates should play a big role in whether we open a new jail or continue transporting prisoners to other counties.
Okay. Well, now I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk directly to the voters and give yourself a couple minutes for a closing statement.
I'm Duston Baird, run for magistrate in District 4. I really appreciate your vote and support. I plan to be very visible, and hopefully I'll have some town hall meetings, and anytime you see me out, I want any questions that you have, I hope that you can come up to me and ask me those questions, and I want you all to be involved in any decisions that I make, and I want to thank you very much. Thank you.
Dustin, for being here this afternoon. Dustin Baird, Republican candidate for Magistrate in District 4. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and remember to vote on November 4th. Again, everybody, I'm here with Magistrate of District 4, Frankie Ball. Frankie is a Democrat running for re-election. Frankie, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Frankie, you want to take a moment to tell the viewers a little about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Frankie Ball, and I'm your current magistrate at this time. I've tried this to be fair with everyone, and I really enjoy the job, and it's been a real pleasure. It sure has, and I'd actually like to keep the job if I could.
Frankie, okay. Get into the questions now. What, in your opinion, do you think is one of the main issues facing McCreary County?
Well, the employment issue is always, you know, front and center pretty much, because, you know, as you know, our tax base is really limited, you know, due to the government-owned property and such as that. So I would think that on the front would be jobs and that sort.
What do you feel your role as a magistrate in the fiscal court, what roles do you have to attracting new jobs to the county and also keeping the ones that we have here?
Well, the way I see it, you know, the ones that are here are probably, to me, more important than the other ones. We need to keep everyone here we can. And second would be, you know, we need the people in place that is going to go out and recruit these new companies or tourism or whatever the case may be to increase, you know, to increase our tax base.
Okay. Of course, McCreary County has a very tight budget right now, and tax revenues have been dropping. What do you think the county can do to increase revenues without increasing taxes, or, you know, applying for grants, which is often just a one-time thing?
Well, you know, if there's a percentage, and it's without having the numbers in front of me, there is a percentage of the occupational tax that is not being paid, and you know, some of them's federal workers and such as that. That would help, you know, considerably, because it's quite a bit of money.
Do you approve of how the occupational tax money is being used now? When you first took office, of course, it was split up among departments, but then 2 years ago it was moved all into the general fund. Would you have any ideas of maybe using it different ways?
Well, it being in the general fund, coming into the general fund like it is, it gives us a little bit more control of it. However, you know, by having that control, it tends to get micromanaged, and we don't want that. You know, we want every benefit of it that we can get.
Okay. A lot of this past administration, Judge Stevens, a lot of his attention has been on tourism and generating the Trail Town Initiative, the adventure races. What do you feel, how important is tourism going forward in the community?
Tourism is you know, it's important. It's going to be a spoke in the wheel that gets us on down the road. It's probably not the most important, but it is in fact one of the things that is going to be helping. And you know, that type of thing doesn't come overnight, you know, and that's a little bit misleading, because, you know, I guess as a nation, we're kind of impatient, but it takes time for this stuff to happen, and a lot of the stuff is in place now, and it's moving forward, you know. Some folks don't agree with tourism, and which is understandable. Everybody's not going to agree with it, but it is moving forward, and that's what we want, you know.
Changing topics here, in November, the residents of the Stearns voting precinct are gonna vote for possible alcohol sales there in Stearns, and a countywide vote could come next year.
Right.
And without putting you on the spot saying whether you're pro or con for alcohol, but in the eventuality that if it does pass, where do you think the money, that the tax revenues this would generate, where do you think that money could be spent?
Well, there's a big percentage of it that has to go to emergency services, and that's mandated by the state. Until that happens, it's really, it would be hard to say, you know. To be perfectly honest, I've not really thought that far into it until it gets closer, you know, because things will change as we go along, and they're changing every day. So without law enforcement, I guess, would probably be the most important, because we are actually lacking in that, because, and it's not because of the quality of the people we have, because we have some really quality deputies and that, but we need more funding to make it better, and as everybody knows, you know, money's what drives it.
Okay, Frankie, and of course, the closure of the jail
Right.
has been a major issue this election, and we've got jailer candidates, and we will have a new jailer come January 1st. What role do you feel the fiscal court will have in the future towards the possible reopening of the jail?
Well, the fiscal court will actually have a lot to do with it. You know, they have to get behind, you know, they have to get behind the individual that's going to be doing it. They have to. And, you know, with the state all going regional and such as that, the likelihood of it is really not so much there until we, you know, increase our revenue. You know, it all boils down to the dollar. That's it. And until that happens, I don't, you know, it's just it's going to be a thorn in our side, just like it always has been.
All right, Frankie, and now I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk to the voters and tell them anything you want at this time.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Yeah.
This has been an experience for sure. As everybody knows, I am Frankie Ball. I am the current magistrate. It's been a wonderful job, and I really do enjoy it. And all I have to say really is go vote. Go vote. It's very important. You know, no matter who your candidates are, vote. Thank you very much, and I sure do appreciate it. And in closing, please call your magistrate. Call if you have a problem. Call them. That's what we're here for. My number is 516-2075. Call me anytime. I'm a 24-hour magistrate. Thank you.
Frankie, thank you again for coming out this afternoon.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And ladies and gentlemen, Frankie Ball, Magistrate for District 4, Democrat, running for re-election. Remember to vote this November 4th. Thank you.